Today we want to discuss with you as parents the probably the best way you want to try to approach your SAT tutoring for your child. Laurence, do you want to start or?
One of the most common questions we get asked is how long should tutoring be and when should we start? And so today we're going to talk a little bit about that. As a math teacher, Patrick, you're pretty adamant about certain topics already being covered,
Yeah.
which is really important. I'm an English teacher, so it's a little bit different on my end, but for you, I think you have to have taken, or at least be in the midst of taking Algebra 2 in order to really have a chance at being successful on the test.
Yeah, the big thing on the math side that I want the parents to kind of think about is if your child is an 11th grader and they are taking Algebra 2 trig right now in 11th grade, in my opinion, you want to try to get the process going where they learn about the SAT as soon as you can. You don't want the child to learn the course by June of junior year, and then you're getting ready for the SAT. The SAT has a lot of Algebra 2 on it. It also has some pre-calculus concepts. So if you have an 11th grader taking Algebra 2, you definitely want to get a tutor way early in the process. If your child is taking, for example, maybe the March exam, in my opinion, you want to start that fall. And you really want to have that tutor teaching them every single concept that's going to be on the test, a lot of which they will be learning while they're going to school, but you want to get ahead of the curve and you really want to give as much exposure to what they should expect on the SAT. Now, if your child is a junior and has already taken Algebra 2, the time frame to get prepared is a lot shorter than the alternative that I just explained. I'm a big believer in taking 8 to 10 sessions to teach everything that's on the test, finding out what they're weak in and making sure that they're solid on it, and then getting a minimum of 4 practice exams before they try to sit down and take the test.
Yeah, so on the English side, it's very similar to what Patrick said about the amount of time, but we don't have to worry about have students learned Algebra 2 or pre-calc or whatnot. With the exception of the grammar, there is an entire section on that tests grammar. It's 44 questions in 35 minutes. In Catholic schools, students are taught grammar pretty regularly. That's not the case in public schools, so a lot of times students have to learn the grammar and become proficient in it. The good thing is, unlike math, students have already mastered the English language, so it's a little bit easier to catch them up to speed. But the SAT is tricky. It's a tough test, so it does take some time. And I do like the number of the 8 to 10 as being, I think, a good average. But I think it really does depend on the student. I know a lot of times, parents are sometimes pressured to, everybody's taking the test in May, or we're going to take the test in March. For me, as both a parent and a teacher and a tutor, I really think it comes down to when that student is ready. And it may not be at the time that the other kids are ready, or it may be before. And I think that it's kind of really, worry and concern yourself with the individual so that that student can maximize his or her grade.
I will just add one more thing. We've been doing this a long time, and I've had parents ask me, and I will do it for them, but they will ask me, can you quickly get them ready in, let's say, three weeks or 4 weeks? And I always say to them, I'll help them if you want, and I'll try to teach as much as I can, but there is no shortcut method to getting the best possible grade on this test. You can't just hire somebody for a month and expect, huge growth. It is a process. It takes months. It takes time to find out what your child is weak in. Then once we find out what they're weak in, we constantly spiral and go back and find out what they can get better in and practice that. So basically my advice would be, especially if you have an 11th grader taking Algebra 2, please get way ahead of the curve, get a tutor, and try to get somebody who's going to teach all of the topics first, then get right into the practice.
Yeah, it's kind of like taking a driving test without knowing any of the signals and the signs or anything like that, and expecting to pass the road test. It's tough because sometimes I don't think parents realize this far ahead that we have this test to take. Now, let's say it's not working for a student. They really need the extra time. The SAT is available in August and then October and November, but at that point, we're coming up towards the time in which we have to apply for college, so the pressure starts to mount. Now, let's say a student only has a month.
Can I add one other thing? Because
Sure.
he brings up a very good point. If your child throughout junior year is getting ready for the SAT and you do not get the score that you want after the June exam, I understand there's some guidance people who will say don't take it senior year. I am adamantly against that. I believe that if you really think about this, a child's junior year is the most pressurized year with all their coursework. They have the whole thing with driving with driver's ed, getting ready for all these exams. The summer after their junior year, they have the time to focus on that one test, on the math SAT or the English part of the SAT. And when you have that time, 10 weeks to just focus on that one or two things on the test that you have to get ready for, and you are not being pulled by activities or other things that just happen during junior year, I'm a big believer in the summertime being an amazing time to catch up.
I totally agree with you, and also you can't underestimate the growth that the child goes through from the 11th grade, the end of 11th grade to the beginning of senior year. There's just a different mentality when they walk into the building as seniors. And maybe they realize, this is it. I'm a senior now. It's time, potentially to grow up, so to speak, as much as they can. Then think about that. But it's an important time where I think kids can take advantage of it at the beginning of their senior year. But to have the time to maximize that study time is just invaluable.
Yeah, and the other thing about the SAT is it's offered much more frequently than it used to be. You can assume almost once a month.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's offered all the time. So it's not like you have one shot where I think when you took and when I took it, it was once or twice and that was it. Now we have score choice, and you take the highest of the scores and you move it together. I think the College Board really has done right by the kids in order to do this, and it's always worth it to have the approach of when is the best time for me to take this test. I know I spoke in another video, I call it your personal testing strategy, but knowing these things, planning out way ahead, looking back from, hey, my kid is already in college, how did we get there? Eliminate the times that are extremely stressful. Like if you know that the third quarter is a quarter that your child is going to struggle in for whatever reason, historically there's been a dip, I would avoid the test during that time. I would work around the schedule of the student. Maybe football season is no good. Maybe baseball, whatever it is. But it really is. It's an individual time. So I think that in the end, what we're trying to get at here is that there are multiple times to take this test, and there are multiple approaches. But I know for me, I'm always looking at it as what's the best way to minimize the stress for the student and minimize the stress for the parent. And I think that those are two things we always have to address. So, is there anything else you want to add about the SAT, or?
Just for today, you really want to look at your child, see what they've already completed, and if they are a kid that just finished geometry, you really want to get ahead of the curve, and you really want to you're going to have to put more time and effort into getting that SAT score that you want. If your child is already done with Algebra 2 going into junior year, they have definitely a built-in advantage, and they probably don't need as much time to get prepared. But a safe bet, either scenario, is please give yourself 8 to 14 weeks to really do it the right way.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. And of course, if you have any questions, you can reach out to us. You can comment in the comment section. Our website is precisiontestprep.com, and we welcome any questions you have. We
look forward to working with you, and and giving you any kind of help at all as it relates to SAT, ACT, college planning, any of that stuff. We have other people that work with us to get you the best advice and to be best prepared so that you can have what you need for your child. It's as simple as that.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much for watching.